The woman's scream tore through the wall. Sharp, broken, too close. I slammed my fist against the door, shouting for it to stop. Nothing changed. The sound just looped, 2 seconds of agony repeating, as if pain itself couldn't die. I looked up and saw the numbers. 407. They trembled under the flickering hallway light, like metal under heat. My watch read 2:07 a.m. 3 nights earlier, I didn't even know room 407 existed. The rain had followed me all day through the Appalachian backroads. By the time I saw the blinking sign of Astoria Inn, I was ready to crash anywhere that had a roof and coffee. The parking lot was empty. Half the letters on the sign were dead, leaving only a ghostly ORIAN glowing through the mist. Inside, the air smelled of coffee and mildew. A man at the counter looked up from an old newspaper. His name tag read, Frank. "One night?" he asked. "Maybe 2, I said. "I'm waiting for a friend. He's driving in from Knoxville. We've got business in Raleigh." He nodded slowly, like he'd heard that 100 times. "Sure. Room 408, top floor, end of the hall." The hallway carpet muffled my steps. The lights hummed, flickering every few seconds. As I walked, I counted 404, 405, 406, and then 408. I stopped, looked back. No 407. Between 406 and 408, there was only smooth wallpaper, no gap, no outline of a door. I frowned, double-checked the numbers again. Still nothing. Back downstairs, I mentioned it casually. "Hey, Frank, your room skipped 407. He chuckled without looking up. "Yeah, contractor messed up when they built the place. Owner decided to leave it that way, calls it a signature touch. He poured himself coffee. Some folks say it's unlucky. Others say it's quiet. I wasn't sure which was worse." Room 408 looked like every cheap roadside motel. Beige walls, a hum that never stopped. Air freshener fighting something older. I dropped my bag, showered, and sat on the edge of the bed, watching rain smear the window. Jake had called earlier. "Wait there," he'd said. "Don't drive ahead till I get there." I've got the case files insurance work, dull but steady, and he always ran late. I left the TV on for noise and let the rain fade me into sleep. Until I heard it. A dull thump, then a gasp, then the sharp, wet sound of someone being dragged. I froze. The noise came from the wall right beside the bed, from the next room. I sat there for a moment, listening. Another muffled thud, then nothing. Silence so heavy it made my ears ring. I got up, stepped into the hallway. The air was cold, lights buzzing softly overhead. I walked toward the door next to mine, thinking it was 406. But the brass numbers gleamed in the dim light, 407. I stopped, and no sound now. I pressed my ear against the door. Nothing. No movement, no breath, just stillness. After a moment, I turned back and returned to my room. The silence followed me inside. The hum of the air conditioner was the only thing alive. I lay down again and stared at the ceiling until sleep finally dragged me under. Morning came gray and slow. The hallway looked the same, 406, then 408. No 407. At the front desk, I asked, "You sure there's no room 407 here?" Frank smiled. "Sure. Never been one," I exhaled and gave a short laugh. "Guess I need to stop watching horror shows before bed." He smiled back. "You and me both." Outside, the rain hadn't stopped. I told myself it was nothing. Old walls, bad wiring, the kind of noise you start to imagine when you're alone too long. But the thought stayed with me all day. That door, those numbers, 407. Jake still hadn't called. By evening, the sky had turned the color of wet ash. The Astoria Inn sign buzzed weakly through the mist, the same dying flicker I'd seen the night before. When I walked down the hallway after dinner, everything looked the same. 404, 405, 406, smooth wall, then 408. Nothing between them. As if last night had never happened. Back in my room, I left the TV on for background noise. The air smelled of rain and detergent, something old beneath it. Somewhere inside the walls, the pipes clicked like teeth. I tried reading. I tried sleeping. Neither worked. Just after midnight, I heard it again. A faint thud. Then another. Then that dragging sound. Low, heavy, close. It came from the same wall beside my bed. I sat up, every muscle tense. The sound grew sharper. A muffled struggle, the breath of someone in pain. And then came the scream. The woman's scream tore through the wall. Sharp, broken, too close. I slammed my fist against the door, shouting for it to stop. Nothing changed. The sound just looped. 2 seconds of agony repeating, as if pain itself couldn't die. I looked up and saw the numbers. 407. They trembled under the flickering hallway light, like metal under heat. My watch read 2:07 a.m. I pressed my ear to the door. The scream stopped. Silence flooded the hall. No movement, no breath, only the soft buzz of the light above. I stood there a while longer, hand on the doorknob, waiting for something. A voice? A step? A sign of life? Nothing came. When I went back into my room, the air felt thinner, as if the building itself had exhaled. Morning came gray and heavy. The hallway looked the same. 406 smooth wall, 408. No 407. Downstairs, Frank was at the counter with his coffee mug. "Morning," he said. "Yeah," I answered. "I'll stay another night." He nodded, writing something on a pad. "You sleep all right?" I hesitated. "Not exactly." I heard something again. From the wall, he stopped writing and looked up. "You're not the first one to say that." I frowned. "What do you mean?" Frank sighed softly and leaned back. "A couple of years ago, a man stayed here. Room 408, said he heard a woman crying through the wall, even swore he saw a door, 407, that shouldn't exist." He stirred his coffee. "His name was Daniel Moore. Business traveler, if I remember right. Quiet guy." "What happened to him?" I asked. "Next morning, he was gone. Car still in the lot, never checked out. My stomach turned cold." "The police?" "They came. Looked around, asked a few questions. Said maybe he wandered off into the woods behind the inn and got lost. Never found a trace." Frank gave a small, uneasy smile. "Funny how these things repeat." Same room, same story I didn't answer. When I went back upstairs, the air in the hallway felt heavier, thicker. And as I passed the wall between 406 and 408, I could have sworn I heard it again. A single breath, faint and close, like someone waiting on the other side. In the evening, I tried to work, to distract myself, but I couldn't focus. Jake still hadn't called. Rain had started again, soft but constant, brushing the window like fingertips. I kept thinking about what Frank had said, about Daniel Moore, how he heard the same sounds, how he vanished and left his car behind. When night fell, I didn't turn on the TV. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall beside me, the one I shared with whatever was on the other side. The beige paint looked normal, but behind it, the pipes thumped slowly, like a tired heartbeat. 1:53 a.m. The air conditioner clicked, stuttered, and went silent. The room fell into a heavy, padded quiet. Then came the first thud. Low, dull, right behind the headboard. Another. Then the dragging sound. Same rhythm, same wall. I stood up, grabbed my phone for light, and pressed my palm to the plaster. A faint sob bled through. A woman, shaking, trying to breathe. And then the scream. It tore through the wall, sharp, broken, too close. My skin went cold. I didn't think. I just moved. I threw the door open and stepped into the hallway. The light above me flickered in slow, sick pulses. The door next to mine was there again. The brass numbers glowed faintly in the dim light. 407. The scream hit again from inside, rattling the frame. I slammed my shoulder into the door. It swung inward. A deep red light spilled into the corridor, thick and hazy like smoke. The air smelled like rust and wet earth. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. I stepped inside. The room was a copy of mine. Same bed, same chair, same cheap painting on the wall, but everything was drowned in that red glow. Shadows crawled across the ceiling like they were trying to peel away. By the window, in a worn-out chair, sat a man. He was thin, pale, with dark eyes sunk deep in his face. He looked up at me slowly, as if it took effort. "You shouldn't be here," he said. My voice felt stuck. "Who are you?" He smiled faintly, almost apologetically. "Daniel. Daniel Moore." The name punched a hole in my chest. Before I could move, a sound tore out of the bathroom, a heavy impact, then a woman's cry, sharp and choking. I turned toward the noise. "Is someone—" When I looked back at the chair, it was empty. Daniel was gone. The red light flickered, dimmed. The cry from behind the bathroom door turned into gasps, then into something like a wet, dragging sound. My hand shook as I reached for the bathroom handle. "Hello?" Behind me, the air shifted. A breath, a presence right at my back. I started to turn. Something slammed into the back of my head. White exploded across my vision. Then everything went dark. Morning. The rain had stopped. A thin gray fog clung to the road, soft and unmoving. A dark Ford pulled into the lot, tires crunching on gravel. Jake stepped out, stretching his stiff legs after the long drive. Inside the lobby, Frank looked up from his paper. "Morning," Jake said. "I'm looking for a guest, Marcus Reed. He was supposed to meet me here." Frank nodded. "Yeah, room 408, end of the hall." Jake thanked him and took the stairs. The hallway smelled like dust and old carpet. He stopped at 408 and knocked. "Marcus?" Silence. He waited, then knocked again. Still nothing. He tried the handle. The door opened easily. The room looked untouched. Bed neatly made. Marcus's bag against the wall. His phone on the nightstand, charging. But no Marcus. "Marcus?" Jake called again, quieter. Only the low hum of the air conditioner answered. He stepped farther in and turned toward the wall beside the bed, the one that should have backed onto an empty space where no room existed. For a moment, he thought he heard something on the other side. A breath. He held his own and listened. The wallpaper was smooth, unbroken. No door, no number, just silence and the tired, steady hum of the motel. If this story unsettled you, leave a like and let the shadows know. Subscribe for more tales you shouldn't hear after dark. And if you've seen something you can't explain, tell us in the comments. We're always listening.